Hi. So welcome to your demos. Full stack web 13, you're ready to go. Some of you are going to move on to computer science. Some of you are going to move on to labs. It's been a hard road, 15 weeks of pure frustration, I know. But some part of it at least should have been fun. And then today, as we get together as a family, right? Because you've been together for such a long time now, you should feel really, really comfortable presenting. And this could take a couple of ways. You could demo if you have a front end, something you want to demo, like, hey, let me show you my front end, the way that it's working. But if not, it's sufficient to just, show your screen. Maybe um, if you don't want to demo the front end, you could just show the back end, maybe on Postman or whatever. What we want to see is something like a conversation where you say, this is of the MVP, this is the stuff that I had. If you work on any extra features, this is what I worked on. What do you find hard? And how do you figure it out? Like, is there something that you want to share with the group? Oh, I learned this new trick. And so take 4 or 5 minutes to do that. And then we move on to the other person. So thank you to those that are willing to present. And if you haven't volunteered and we still have time at the end, you want to volunteer, you could jump on the spot and just share your screen. So now I'm going to let Caitlin start calling out the names of those that volunteer ahead of time. Good job.
All right. Joseph, you're first.
Hello, can you guys hear me? All right, let me hop in here and share the screen. It says host disabled attendee screen sharing. May I get the green light from the host, please? Oh, here we go. Got it. All right, I'm working on one screen here today, guys. So let me try to get through this. Okay, so let me just walk you quickly through my front end. I presented on the during the React week, and my front end was a total travesty. So it felt pretty good to be able to get back in and kind of get everything up and working again. So this is my my front end. I just put these this very simple highlight so that you could know obviously what card that you're hovering over. I've got my view cards and create cards. So we'll just go ahead and click on Tanya Harding, skate and win and skate. If we choose to edit Tanya Harding to just Tanya skate, we can do that. We can submit that. It'll bring us back and show us the edited note. We can go to create cards and put something new in. Create a new card, and this shows up down below. And then we decide that we'd like to delete this card. We can do so. I've got a little bit of work on this. I need to expand the modal through the entire screen, but this is what I've got so far. Did a little animation here on the yes and no buttons. If you hit no, we go back to the full view. If we go to delete and hit yes, we are directed back to the notes page, and you can see that the note that we chose to delete has in fact been deleted. Did want to just quickly go through a couple of things. All of this is running locally. I did not go through with the full live deployment, but I did one quick note that I wanted to point out here. I was having a little bit of trouble in the user experience of the app. I wanted to ensure that every time an action was taken, the app updated to the original view with the notes, and I was struggling a little bit with that. And through some Googling, figured out that I could use this window.location equals the path that I wanted to redirect after each action. So ended up implementing that. But yeah, I mean, it was fairly straightforward. I really appreciated this week because it kind of helped me to understand what I was building contextually with React a few weeks ago, and I was able to go back and kind of rejigger some of the work that I had done there. I think my focus moving forward, and I'll wrap with this, is going to be to get in here and really clean my code up, take out some of the notes that I've made that aren't really relevant any longer, and then just kind of beautify it generally if I can, to make it as clean as I possibly can. So it was a great week. My next step is going to be over the weekend to hop in and try to get this live on Netlify, which Luis, you and I went through last weekend. Thank you kindly for that. So I think I've got a pretty good handle on Netlify, but I've got to get straight with Heroku. So that's what I'll be doing over the weekend, and it was a great week. So thank you for allowing me to present.
Excellent. Great job. I like how you changed the theme to be the Lambda red. Pretty nice. I find it really, really clean too, like the colors. It's pretty nice. Nice touch. So good job. Kaylin, next.
All right, Vera, you're next.
Hello. So let's get more or less right to it. All right. I can never get the Zoom controls to shoo when I need them to. So I actually, when I'm looking at the right one, have the only thing I ended up changing with my front end was the backend URL. I worked quite a bit on making the server function exactly like the one during the front end week. So basically we got I got deploys on both the front end and back end working, though I'm still working out some kinks due to working on implementing nodes. So all our notes show up. Sorry, I was testing something. That works. Notes that are not linked to a tag currently can be deleted successfully. We can go in, edit some stuff. Create new stuff. And all that works as expected. Currently, I am working on implementing tags to work as expected. I'm running into some issues with Postgres and foreign keys. I need to touch back on the, I forget exactly what that was, but with the cascading delete and whatnot, I need to set up the schema for the tables correctly for that. But everything's working as expected. My biggest catches with this have been working with Postgres, honestly, and the foreign key constraints with referencing tables. Because Postgres is very strict about that, unlike SQLite. What else? Yeah, Postgres has been a headache. Ran into some hiccups initially when deploying the front end on Netlify with the whole netlify.toml file being needed because the project isn't in the root of the repository. Other than that, that was smooth sailing. Deploying the backend to Heroku with SQLite was pretty much fire and go. I didn't have to really fight with that, and it just worked, even though the whole storage thing makes the database ephemeral. nice initial testing. Let's see, going forward, I'll probably continue working on this. There's some stuff I would like to pick up on. I actually ended up setting up a local instance of Postgres just to test on. So I got frustrated with having to upload all of my code to GitHub and making a pull back into master and then having it auto deploy and waiting for that during all of my fighting with the foreign key stuff. So let's see, I've got at least one feature outside of the original stretch goals that I'd like to get implemented. I'd like to implement a tag cloud for all the tags that get added to notes. That should be interesting. Other than that, all is well. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Oh, good job. Postgres for sure is a little hard on the foreign keys, but that's knowledge that is gonna translate to any other database once you get done on Postgres. So yeah, tag cloud sounds like a good idea too. I want to see it implemented. All right, good job, Vera. Thank you for presenting. All right, next.
Next, we have Adam.
All right, how's it going, guys? So let me pull this up here really quick. Okay, so this is how it looks on the front end. So we'll go ahead and log out. So the login function works here fine. Doesn't show you anything unless you are logged in. I gave the front end a little bit of a facelift, make it look a little bit cleaner since the last iteration. You can add new notes. We'll put query in so you can kind of see the tag functions and the search functions. So this is a search in real time. It's sort of an auto search that filters out. I'm not sure how this will work with larger data sets. Right now, the search handling is done on the front end in React using state. If you're using like a much larger data set, you'd probably want to offload some of that to the back end. I'm not quite sure about that and how that will play out. But for now, for the purposes here, it works perfectly. So you can use your tags. So if you go back to the notes view, you can see all the other notes with the tag on them. So the tags are stored in the database as a comma-separated list. And JavaScript is sort of splicing them and joining them as it's passing them back and forth from the front end to the database. So that all of this is just sent as an object. I don't know if I pull up the console, this will make it a little clearer. So this is the actual payload that's being sent from the server. There's all this stuff here. And I implemented a My Account feature, so you can check the account information on the front end. It'll tell you your username, your user ID, what type of user you are. This is important for authorization in terms of changing people's names and passwords. You're only allowed to change your own username or your own password. So the user ID is stored in local storage, and that in conjunction with the JOT being passed to the backend ensures only proper authorization is used to change usernames and passwords. So like if you want to change your username to Dugan11, it'll ask you. Ideally, this will be a modal in the future. I just use window alert because it was a bit faster and I had to get this implemented. So if you want to do that, you can do that. And you'll see, like, if you log out, you can log in with your new name. What is this? Oh, interesting. Yeah, and so your name will change there, and you can change your password and the same thing. I implemented user tests for all of this, which I can show you now, to make sure that the back end is working properly. I think this is the window, should be. Yeah, so you run all those tests again. So what this basically does is it creates a user, it logs that user in, And then it runs through all the checks to see if the user can add notes, change notes, post notes, delete notes. And it also tests the user's API to make sure that it can get its user information, that it can edit its own password, that it can edit its own username. And then I'm doing unauthorized checks to make sure that people who are not authorized cannot do this kind of stuff. So that's all the tests that I'm running on Supertest there. If you want to look at the backend code, then this is kind of the basic server setup. I didn't get a chance to split these out into routes, so everything's just kind of broken up by comments here so that I can, just for my own sanity, so I know where everything is. But yeah, and there's implementations here that the password never gets sent back to the front end. All password handling is done on the back end using the Authenticate middleware to make sure that they have proper authority. And of course, this is running hash sync on all passwords that are passed in with create or edit the user password so that everything is securely passed into the database. And that's more or less it. If anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer them. This has been a really fun project, and it's really cool to see how all these pieces fit together. It's been a good week.
Great. Good job. I see a lot of testing in there, so you really spent some time there. I love to see that. All right. Who's next?
All right, next we have Marshall.
Oh, hey guys, I'm coming through loud and clear.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, share screen. Alrighty, here. So here's the login page for my app. I also made a lot of tests. So one thing I did with my tests is if I go to my package.json is I actually stringed on my migrations because the tests I do actually edit and do things to my database. So this will do a rollback. Then it will migrate the latest, then it will seed. So if I'm here, do yarn test, and then this will go through my migrations, roll back, so get rid of all the old stuff, and then it will do the migrations, and then after that's done, it will go through, run my test, and so this actually did affect my database. So I did test to see if if it validates the JSON Web Token. This did come in handy when I was doing my project because I was trying to do some kind of like get creative and do this fiddle with things here and there, and then it actually did not validate with my JSON Web Token. And I think if I didn't do these tests, I wouldn't have found the problem. So I was happy about that. I also did tests for the views. So I had a lot of trouble doing this before because I had to separate them because the thing with testing the views is it gets kind of mixed up on which the configurations for everything with testing the server and testing the views. So this is mainly just going in and checking to see that all the props got rendered correctly and the page is looking all right. And this helped too because when I was doing the project, I did add additional feature and I saw that my test wasn't working, and I realized that I didn't change my test. So it was nice to see that my tests were actually testing for something because I didn't change how my test was done. Okay, and then so if I go to my project here, so I did implement a sign in and sign out. These have the exact same style, so I use styled components. So go to make a user here, user. So I just reused the same variables from styled components, and then I just exported them and then imported them in. So I'll make a password here. Submit, so there I'm in. So if I go to my database here, so if I go user, so Jimmy was made with my test, and then I just made this one here. So and then you see the hashed password that I used with bcrypt. And I have my old notes. So this was from my front-end project week, so I still have the same drag and drop functionality. And I still have, searching by the author. And I still have the same old API I had from the front end project weeks where I can look at a 5-day weather forecast for a city. So, it's old city I used to live in. And that's, so it just needs the city and the country code. So that was, oh, shoot. Oh yeah, also says. And then if I create a new note, so one extra thing I added was the idea of having collaborators, so I could collaborate. So if I do, so I'll do one with no collaborators, so no collaborators. Let's say no collabs here. And then I just won't add collaborators, so I'll save it. So right here I have no collaborators, so the collaborators don't come up. And then if I view another note, so this note does have collaborators, but as you see in the corner, I don't have access to the links for delete. So there, I don't have an actual edit page. I have a button that renders the HTML that would give me the ability to have the form. So, so this one has it, but I'm not on the collaborator list and I'm not the author. So I'll make another note here and I'll say, let's say I love veggies, and then I'll just make put in some veggie ipsum here. Shoot, throw it in there. And then I'll add Jimmy, who was made earlier. And then I just made some dummy collaborators there that don't really serve any purpose. This is also searchable. So if I search for Sam, so it's Jessica already used. I could use Timmy. So save there. So that will come up. So there I have I love veggies, and I have Jimmy there, and I also have the edit links right here. So I have this, and then I can also delete it. No, so I have an animation there. So if I go log out there, log in as Jimmy. So, and then right here, because Jimmy's a collaborator, he has the ability to go in there and kind of edit this or delete it. And I did this as a many-to-many table. So if I go here to my collaborators, right here they have the note ID. So the last note ID is number 9. So this is the 9th note. The 2nd note I deleted because that was during the test. So I believe this is note 9. And then the collaborator ID. So, and these are the references to the possible collaborators. So these are just dummy collaborators I made. Also, when you register a new user, it will make a new user in the users database, but I'll also add them as a possible collaborator. Also, when you go, depending on who you're logged in as, so if I go to create a new note, so I'll have my collaborator list, but I won't be on the possible list of collaborators because I'm logged in as Jimmy, but Marshall will come up. But then if I log out here and then I log in as Marshall, and I sign in and I create a new note, and then, so then, so now Jimmy's there, but Marshall is not. So it does, so I did add like a way to filter that out, and I could look up as, search by Jimmy. Oh, maybe I don't want Jimmy. And then also, because Jimmy is a collaborator, so he has the link there. So if I delete this here, so that does delete the note from the database. So if I go to my notes, so note 9 is gone, but then also if I go to my notes collaborators table, you also see that everything references note 9 is gone as well. But I still have my, collaborators unaffected, so none of them got deleted. So I think that's all I did. Oh yeah, and then this is another API right here that just gets random stories. So this isn't just like set in stone. Like this will constantly update from day to day or hour to hour. And that was something I did from the front end project week. So because I don't know. I'm boring. I like news. I like checking the weather. I don't know. So I thought that'd be fun, but I integrated it, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Any questions? Anyone want to say anything or?
Well, I want to say very, very complete.
Yeah, I tried to add a little bit of each thing from each week we're here. So, you know, one week we had all the server stuff and stuff like that. So I tried to add all the CRUD functionality. I did get a little creative, and I could chain things. So like when I delete one thing, I delete another. I would have liked to add more, and I think I could probably clean up the code a little bit more. But we were coming up on the thing, and I didn't want to break it right before the demo. And I know it's working fine, but then afterwards I'll be like, well, demo's here, so now I can, you know, go and clean it up. And I wanted to make more tests too. They really are helpful. You know, a lot of people think it's boring, but man, it helped me solve some bugs. And when you make a new feature and you run those tests, you know, and you're like, well, shoot, then it gives you an idea of where you are without having to click on everything or it makes you feel less insecure about your app. But I don't know. Yeah, but there's lots of Googling. I get stuck on stuff, but I don't know.
Well,
I had a lot of fun.
good job, man. Good job.
Thanks.
So who's next?
Next, we have Louis-san.
All right, give me 1 second. Let me just set everything up. Sorry, I was writing Marshall how awesome everything was, so I have the wrong screen's up. All right. Are you guys seeing my screen?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Cool. So I'm gonna have to show everything that I have in bits and pieces because you know, new things kept coming up, so I couldn't integrate all of it. I also Netlify just didn't want to play ball, so I couldn't get the front end deployed. But as you can see here, the backend was deployed. So here you go. The API is running on the port. It's a backend project. If you look for the notes, it's all JSONified. If anybody has read the Little Prince, these are all quotes from the Little Prince at the very beginning. What else from before? So some of this is old stuff, but it's from the same project. You have a little logging. I spent no time on making it look pretty because, you know, like the backend was, I mean, our focus and challenging enough. So you create whatever, log in. Haven't even changed the password. I'll show you guys once you log in and submit. We're gonna do a little cheating here. I want to show you guys this first, and then I'll cheat so that it looks nicer. But if you get a file here, you can upload files. Still trying to figure out how to hook it up so that you can later download them and attach them to the notes. But yeah, that works. Let me just take this away so you can see how it looks. Because like I told you, I spent no time on styling. It's none. Cool. And so you go to your notes. This is pretty embarrassing now that they're not showing up, but you can create new notes and save them. This was the pagination. It used to work, but now it's definitely not working what I'm trying to show you guys. But yeah, I promise it worked. I'll show you guys last time. And the last thing I was working on was the logging button, which was an awesome video by Kate. Thank you so much for those after hours. You always do a great job with them. I got it all the way up to here. And now I'm just stuck trying to make sure that, you know, you actually get credentials and you have different permissions depending on what you're using. But yeah, you can totally use this to log in. Here you can see all of my Gmail accounts. And yeah, you can enter the village and check it out. I think probably one of the hardest parts was getting just the deployment done. That there's always this like one little syntax mistake, and the Heroku app is like very terrible at telling you what's going on. But that was a lot of fun. I'm really excited about learning how to do file uploads, and you know, users can upload their images and different files. So that's something really exciting that I'm gonna get done afterwards. And I'm sorry I couldn't have this hooked up for you guys. I don't know what happened, but building the pagination was also pretty cool from last time. You know, after after you get 9 items, it'll start going forward, and you can just change pages, and it'll loop all the way back around. I use the module function, and yeah, that was the project. Questions, comments, concerns? Sorry to steal that from you, Vera.
All right. So, well, thank you for presenting. I think suggestion for the next time: concentrate on the MVP first, and then bring in other stuff. So that way you can pretty much guarantee that you have like everything working together on the MVP. And then from there, you could do the file upload and the pagination and all that, but make sure that you at least have the MVP done before you do that. That's the only thing.
Yeah,
thank you.
You're totally right. It was a bit haywire, but you know, it's.
All right.
I'm just waiting for the last pieces to hook them up together, but yeah, this was fun. But thanks.
All right. All right. What's next?
All right, next is Brian. Maybe.
Hey, good on audio?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so what I built out was, I built out the back end so that it was pretty much identical to the one that existed already. So all I had to do was change the routes for the notes. And then I made some authentication. And the way I did it was using bcrypt and JWTs and cookies. So, anyway, so if you create a user, well, actually I'm already a member, so I can say I'm already a member, log in, and I added that little animation. And then once it logs in, it's doing like 16 hash rounds, I think, so it takes a bit. But once it actually logs in, the token gets added to the cookie, and then I add the username and the ID, and then also in this logged in, variable inside of local storage that way I can easily track everything globally. I am using Redux, but I thought that this was a bit easier to use, and none of this information is sensitive. So, but yeah, so it's the same app though. You can still, add notes and CRUD operations on notes, and then I did add this like welcome and then the user's name. Another thing would be so like logging out, and then you get directed to login page, because if you've logged out, you need to go back to a login page because you're obviously a user. And then, but if you do want to register though, you can just create like a username or something. I have to be careful because I've created a bunch of users, and the only thing that needs to be unique is the email. And then it's doing its hash stuff. And I did write some tests for this, but actually when I changed everything over to when I deployed everything, it actually messed my testing up, so I'm gonna have to redo them. But yeah, if you want to create a note, I forgot to add tags. One thing I did have implemented in the app, I just haven't built a link to it yet, is that you can add in, you can go to /users and then the user ID and then notes, and then you get that user's notes, which is just a one-to-many relationship with Postgres. And that is down here somewhere. It's right here, actually. It's just a raw Postgres query, and then with Postgres, you have to say .rows. You don't have to do that with SQLite, otherwise you get an internal server error. But yeah, that's basically it. Not much else to say about it. It was a lot of fun to build everything in and go in and edit all the old code, and I didn't have to change very much on the front end because of I made sure to build the application or the back end for the notes part of it almost exactly like it was built originally. So yeah, it was fun.
Good job. Good job, man. One comment is for the raw SQL statement, parameterize that, because the way that it's written now, you're building the query using concatenation, kind of, right? Stimulator. And that it's going to make you vulnerable to possible SQL injection attacks. So go on and to look at the portion where they introduce parameterized queries in Connects. Other than that,
Okay, yeah.
all right, next one.
All right. Next, we have Brock, and he's our last person, but Louis-san actually got his notes to show up. He fixed whatever was wrong with his stuff, so he wants to go again for just a brief amount of time after Brock goes, if that's okay.
That's fine.
All right. Go ahead, Brock.
Might be muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, cool. All right, let me share screen. One second here. Which screen am I on here? Okay. So I did not get to do as much as I would have liked to do. Mostly just did some. Oh, by the way, if you're looking at the screen, by the way, it's a different computer than the one that I'm zooming on. Yeah, anyway. But I was able to get some tests in, which was nice. I'm not done with tests yet. You can see here, these are my delete ones. I just have those commented out right now. But yeah, I really enjoy testing, but I was sick for the first day and like a day and a half, and so I didn't get a lot done then, and so I was really in a rush, so I didn't do a lot of TDD, which is what I really wanted to do with this. So a little bit disappointing. Anyway, regardless, let me go ahead and pull up the project. Cool. So here's my app. I don't know why my notes aren't showing up. I guess maybe I'm having the same issue as, I don't know, can this just suddenly go down? But I'm using Postgres. It was working like minutes ago, so I don't know why it's not working now. Kind of annoying.
Heroku has the tendency of putting your server to sleep, so maybe it's...
Oh yeah, here it is. I don't know how to wake it up. Let me see.
It should wake up as you hit it. That would wake it up.
Oh my gosh, is it just not going to work now? That'd be hilarious. It was working. Problem is 100%. It was all working.
There you go. It's awake. All
okay.
Right. Refresh the notes, maybe.
No, that's. They're there. This is kind of depressing because it was working perfectly and now it's not working at all. Ah, that's irritating. Well, it was working really well. Deployed on Heroku using Postgres. I don't know why it's not now all of a sudden. I don't know. It's bizarre. Does it even have does it even say that I'm trying to connect? I don't even know where to look anymore. Well, I guess I don't have much to show then. That's kind of sad. Oh well.
Hey, Brock, try hitting Control F5.
Just see if a cache refresh changes it.
Yeah.
No cache refresh. That's what I was trying earlier. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but this was working like just a little bit ago. Let's
Is
see
it
what.
giving you any console errors?
Yeah, let's take a look.
I mean, like in the web inspector sort of thing?
Yeah, connection refused. Network error.
That's for a different. Oh.
Oh my gosh, what the heck?
Yeah.
Is it not? Maybe we should move on to Louis-san real fast, and I'll get this sorted out real quick because that's I don't know why that's happening all of a sudden. I haven't done a push or anything, so I don't know why that would be different. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and relinquish my screen here. We can go back to Louis.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's just the curse of presenting. Really, that's the takeaway usually.
So now you are in the same boat as Bill Gates, as Steve Jobs, those guys.
Thank you.
All right, Louis-san, do you want to take the screen again and show us your fixed thing?
Yeah, please. And I mean, I really didn't even touch my code. I just reopened the tab, and as you can see now, it's working. These are the same notes. Yeah, here they are. It's pretty nice. You can paginate. Once they're done, you can go all the way around. And oh yeah, now that you can see them, we can filter them a little. You have persona. You see any person. If you only want the posts, you get the posts. But yeah, these are the notes. Thanks for letting me show you guys again.
It looks really good. So
Thank you.
I'm really happy now. You can scratch my note of getting MVP. You did. Good job.
Gracias.
Okay.
Those were all the pre-signed up people that we had. So
I know Brock is suffering because of the presentation demons that attack us.
mhm.
But I would like to grab him and get him on the mic again and tell us what did you end up implementing? Because presentations may break, but there was probably some learning in there. And did you get anything beyond the MVP? What was it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, beyond I really just did testing. I got Postgres working, and then a lot of my time I sunk into trying to get Postgres to work locally. And that was what I spent a lot of my time trying to get working. And I found that to be really difficult for some reason. I installed Postgres. I got it alive. I was able to access Postgres using a Postgres management system. But then I wasn't able, like an admin, but then I wasn't.
Probably PG admin, right?
Yeah, PG admin, exactly. But I wasn't able to connect my, I wasn't actually able to connect my app to it. So I had to do all of my testing through pushing everything to live on Postgres, which was a nightmare. I did not like that. So that's something that I really wish that I had been able to figure out before. Really, what I would really like to do is I really want to rebuild it, like when I have more time, 100% through test-driven development, because that's what I get a lot of, that's what I find satisfying. And so, but I feel like I just didn't have enough time to do it this week because I was really sick early on this week. And so I started really late. So, but yeah, other than some tests and deploying, I really didn't do any stretch, but
Okay,
I did get it done.
But you did work the MVP though, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. No, the MVP was done very quickly.
All right, cool. Postgres is, all of the databases installed locally are tricky. This is why we chose SQLite, so you concentrate on the other stuff. A couple of things is the port by default is going to be 5432. And also you need to create a user and give it access to the database that you're going to use. And the database must be created beforehand. So maybe some of those will help you troubleshoot it. And if not, send me I do have a meeting like in 10 minutes. But then after that, that's going to be 1 hour, maybe 1 hour and 15 minutes. But then after that, you could show me a DM and maybe we can connect and see if we get it working. All right.
Thank you.
Good job. Anybody else wants to present on the spot?
I could show my debugging feature if anyone's interested.
Debugging, yeah, we want to see that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, there, as some of y'all probably ran across, there's it shows the logs under more view logs. I set up a feature in my backend API with an associated environmental variable called debugging. And when you set it to when you hit edit and set it to true, you can see here when you change environmental variables, Heroku restarts your application. And hop over here, create notes, for example. That works. And we get all kinds of info about what was sent to the server and get the usual HTTP method stuff alongside with it, just so you can actually see what's going on. Oh.
That is cool.
I was trying to trace some issues with Postgres and ended up implementing like a full debugging suite.
All right, that's pretty nice. Good job.
Yeah, it's basically uses .env, just have a debugging variable, process env debugging, make sure it's to lowercase, check if it's true, otherwise false. Then scattered throughout, I just have a bunch of if statements with console logs. I could have probably centralized all that into a function somewhere, but I was focused on fixing something else at the time.
Besides, remember that you first make it functional, and then the rest. So
I know what's it with testing. I would do debugging because I was going through the documentation, and they have a function called debugger, and I wanted to console.log to see what the HTML representation of what things would look like when I was testing like my views or whatever. So then if you make like you got like your wrapper, you can't just like console log it and then look in your terminal and see it comes up. So, but if you do console.log and then you have your wrapper variable and then you and then you call debug on it as a function call, then when you run your test, then you can look at your view and then you'll see what your actual view will look like. So then I would do that. Like if you were doing like a click event and you wanted to know which part of the page you needed to click or something like that, or if you wanted to check like this particular div should have this information on it, like when I was testing my views. So if I was like rendering, if I was doing like a shallow render, and then I was passing in some like props for like a React view test, and then I would be like, well, shoot, I know the props are going to be on the page, but where are they going to be on the page? And then so I'd use the debugger, and then I'd be like, oh, if I pass these props on, then they should come up here. And then I'd say, okay, find that particular element. I expect it to have this information. it'd be a way of knowing that yes, the test proves that my props do show up in the view.
Yeah,
Sorry, I was rambling, but
this is
it was in that
entirely in
document.
Backend.
Yeah.
Hey, so just real fast, mine's live now if anyone wants to see it real quick.
Sure.
Oh, cool.
Joy.
Hit it.
You muted yourself again, Brock.
Every time. Okay. So this is my app now. Okay. So now you can see that it works. So I don't know. It works, as you can see. You can edit everything. It edits the notes live. You can delete them. You can add a new note. This is a new note. Oh. And then, yeah, so this all, and then there it is at the very bottom. So yeah, again, it works really well. Lauren, the reason why you're in there is because you were making fun of me because it wasn't working. The adding note wasn't working. So I was like, see, it works, look. Anyway, so yeah, everything works normally. Just wanted to let everybody know. And I really wanted to show everybody this feature more because what I really wanted to do was to make that, I really wanted to make a user database, and I wanted to have the layout and the configuration of like the size of each note and the position of each note to be set up per user, and that's what I wanted to be stored. And so that's really what I wanted to do with this if I had time. And so that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to show everybody, was just because I thought that this was really cool, and I wanted to be able to make that happen. But that's difficult, it turns out. But I'd like to do it still. So that's my next goal.
Great job. That's also very good looking and clean. So I'm glad you got it to work, so we got to see it. All right. So that's it for today. I have like 5 minutes to go, right? Well, it's been a long 15 weeks. I know you don't get to see my face a lot, so here it is. Thank you for sticking with us through all this time. This is not an easy thing, especially for someone that haven't been doing any programming before, and you just took the jump, and here you are, and almost going into the second part of the curriculum. So enjoy your long weekend. You have day off tomorrow, and there's a reason for that. You're gonna need the rest. So I know some of you want to continue working on your projects. I applaud that, but I will ask that you take a break. You take those 3 days and you stop for a minute and go and enjoy something else. So you come back recharged next week, because the next couple of weeks are going to be very, very intense and very rewarding for you. But you need rest, okay? So just make a note in some file there of all the things that you want to implement to this, but then try not to work on them on the weekend. Just rest, okay? And if anything, you get stuck, either you go to labs or later on when you go into labs, if you're not going to lab right away, you know that you can always reach out to us, to anybody on the team, me, Dustin, Josh, Ryan. We're there for you. Congratulations, and go off and do great things. See you on Slack. Bye-bye.